Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to assess President Trump's boast that he's a very stable genius. That's a direct quotation from Donald J. Trump. Well, let's take it in order. Look at the stable part. Very stable indeed. The constant screeds, the emotional incontinence, the tweets at all hours, this incessant self-laudation. Is that stable? The way he loses his temper so quickly, he's so erratic, he constantly contradicts himself, contradicts his team, his rambling, his segueing from one unrelated topic to another, his repeated iterations of stories. Isn't that a sign of senile dementia, by the way, the last one? The way he emotionalizes everything, always takes it personally. As he said, his state visit to the People's Republic of China, well, the thing that mattered most is how he was treated, not what they're offering the United States as a whole. So that seems very much like infantile regression to me, not stability. I think the one word I couldn't associate with him is stability, whatever his other virtues. The way he's changed his mind on so many issues, flip-flopped over Iraq, over Afghanistan, over which party he supports, over the Clintons. He was a Clinton donor. Bill Clinton was a friend of his, he said 3 years before he got elected. The way he's changed his mind over abortion, I mean, well, you name it. So he's definitely not stable. Oh yeah, incidentally, when he came to office telling the Pakistanis they were fantastic, well, that's how the Pakistani government reported it, and Trump notably did not dispute that at the time, nor has he disputed it since, how he liked Nawaz Sharif. I very much doubt he'd heard of Nawaz Sharif prior to that conversation, and now he says Pakistan backs the Taliban. Let's hand it to Trump for once. That's true, that there is certainly a section of the ISI, Pakistani Secret Service, that does actively assist the Taliban, but that's been known about for years, since the 90s. But only now does this come as a bolt from the blue for Trump, and only now is he horrified. So he's a genius, according to himself. Tip: geniuses tend not to be constantly blowing their own trumpet. Someone who's a very high achiever in a sphere usually isn't compelled to endlessly brag about it. Well, I think got to hand it to Trump that he really is a genius. He managed to review a book, Fire and Fury, without reading a page of it. Must be telepathic, because it hadn't been published at the time. I know a few segments of it had been published, but he said it was full of lies, or he didn't even know the content. Anyway, more about Trump's genius. At least 2 bankruptcies, hadn't paid tax in years, as far as we know, or won't release his tax records. So what's he hiding? What's so disgraceful? I mean, he likes us to know how rich he is, doesn't he? He's always saying he's got $10 billion. He can't spell. You look at many of the spelling mistakes in some of his tweets. He knows that's going out to 7 billion people. Is it not checked by his staffers, or are they that illiterate too? What is his grade point average, by the way? If it's so high, I think he'd let us know. But even he doesn't dare lie about that one, it seems to me. He says he went to good schools. Yes, that's true. Intelligence does not consist of attending a good school. It's the outcome you get, not the input. The teachers can only do so much. They can't give you a new brain. Could it be that he went to a good school and a good university because his father was a multimillionaire? That's certainly the way it worked in the 60s. If you're willing to make the big donations, they would take your boy or girl, no matter how dim this person was. In fairness, I don't actually know whether his father bought Trump's way in, but it wouldn't surprise me. Trump can't speak another language. If he was able to, I think we'd all know about it. He did not write the book that appeared in his name. Schwartz wrote that for him, Tony Schwartz. So a Greek philosopher said the end of education is to know thyself, which Trump most certainly doesn't. He's constantly banging on about how clever he is. And then when he challenged, I think it was it Rex Tillerson, to an IQ test, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said it was mirthful. Well, I don't think there's a quip. There's a consistent theme here of Trump always boasting about how brainy he is. Well, going back to that Fire and Fury book, published a few days ago by Michael Wolff, it says that everyone around Trump regards him as being childish. It's hard to disagree with that. How infantile is this? Boasting about the size of his virile member, boasting about how big his nuclear button is, that everything about him is superlative. It's the biggest, it's the best, it's the most expensive. Always making threats. That's how he seems to manage people. The way he's so categorical. He always demands loyalty, but for him that means blind faith and unconditional obedience. His so-called loyalty is not reciprocal because people are disposable to him. The moment they no longer serve his purpose, they will be jettisoned. So don't expect any good faith from him in return if you're one of his followers. Look at Steve Bannon, sloppy Steve, Trump now calls him. He had no problem with Bannon until Bannon said this. Now he claims Bannon has lost his mind. Well, again, Trump is on the money. Bannon must have lost his mind quite some time ago when he endorsed Donald J. Trump. Look at Trump's idle threats to North Korea. Fire and fury if Kim Jong-un threatens to do something again. Not does something, merely issues a threat. Well, that was a red line set, and the North Koreans have crossed it several times since that has happened, and there have been no repercussions. Therefore, it's clear that the United States is making idle threats. American credibility is diminished, not enhanced by the so-called tough talk from Trump. Shows again that he has no attention span. So he's been the boy who cried wolf. If he does make a heartfelt threat, people won't know that. They will just assume that it's bluster yet again. This constant bellicose talk, again, is very puerile. So really that's Trump. His statements are the epitome of fake news. The constant lying, the vulgarity, always lashing out. There's no objectivity. There's no fair-mindedness. There's no appreciation of ambiguity or nuance, or anything that would suggest stability or indeed intelligence. So Trump, I abominate him. But unlike Trump, I'm subjective and I can be fair-minded. I'm even-handed enough to give him credit where it's due. The economy is going quite well. Probably doesn't have a lot to do with the president, as he doesn't have the power of the purse. Congress controls the purse strings. The first year of a presidency is largely down to the economic policies of the previous one. Trump's had a few accomplishments in his own terms, such as a tax cut for the super rich, and let me see what, defunding affordable health care, some success against ISIS, though a lot of that's down to the Assad government in Syria, to the Russians, the Iranians, Trump wouldn't like to point that out, and indeed to the Iraqi government. Anyway, that's enough from me.